Welcome back, everyone. Today, we're going deep on something pretty major, I think. What does it really mean to be a Muslim?
Oh, yeah. Big question.
And not just, like culturally, but like really Muslim.
Right.
To get into it, we're looking at a khutbah by Syed Abul A'la Maududi, really prominent Islamic scholar.
Absolutely.
And I'll be honest with you, some of this stuff is, it's pretty thought-provoking, even surprising.
Yeah, Maududi, he doesn't mess around.
Definitely not.
He goes straight to the heart of things.
Right.
Like, one of the first things he tackles is this idea that being Muslim is just something you're born with. Like, you inherit it from your family.
Like a family business or...
Exactly. Like, he compares it to being born into a certain caste in India.
Okay.
So, like, you might be a Brahmin or a Rajput, because of your family history.
Yeah.
But then it doesn't automatically make you a practicing Hindu, right?
So Maududi's saying even if you come from a Muslim family, it doesn't mean you've actually chosen Islam for yourself?
That's exactly it. It's like think of it like a gym membership.
Okay.
It's only valuable if you actually use it, right? So Maududi really believes that Islam is about actively making that choice, not just inheriting it passively.
Interesting.
It has to be conscious. And it requires a really deep understanding of the teachings. It's not just like going through the motions.
I see. So it's not enough to just like say I'm Muslim and then leave it at that.
Right. You have to actually engage with it,
You have to put in the effort.
Exactly. Yeah. He actually uses this analogy of like, enrolling in a school, but then you never actually go to any of the classes. You're technically on the list, but are you really learning anything?
Right.
It's kind of the same with Islam,
Oh, I see. So you might be born into it, but to really, I guess, live the faith, you've got to actively study the curriculum.
Precisely.
That's actually a really great way to put it.
Oh, thanks.
Makes you think about how much effort we actually put into understanding what we believe. So then where do you even begin with this like Islamic curriculum? What's the first step?
Well, Maududi, he's really adamant about this one thing. He keeps coming back to how important Islamic knowledge is.
Yeah.
And he really warns against ignorance. He compares it to like, imagine walking along a path, but it's pitch black.
Oh, yeah.
You're bound to trip, get lost,
That's a little scary.
It is a bit, right.
But when we talk about being like ignorant in Islam, what does that really mean? Is it just not knowing enough about the religion, just the facts and stuff?
It's more than just, trivia and dates and stuff like that.
Right.
It's more about, think of it like, if you're lost in the woods without a compass, you're much more likely to be led astray.
Oh,
you're vulnerable, right?
Yeah.
And it's the same with faith.
Yeah.
If you don't have a solid understanding of the teachings, you're much more at risk of being swayed by interpretations that might not be beneficial, or even following someone with bad intentions.
So knowledge is like a shield. It protects you from people who might twist the meaning to suit themselves.
That's exactly it. It's all about being able to, to look at information and decide for yourself, is this legit? Can you spot the things that don't quite add up? That's how you stay true to the real Islam.
Yeah.
And this is where Maududi gets really interesting.
Okay.
He wants us to think about all the time we spend on things in this world, our jobs, our hobbies, all of that. And then compare that to how much time we spend actually trying to understand our faith.
Like, are we saying the time we spend at work versus the time we spend, reading the Quran or something?
Yeah. Like, think about it.
Yeah.
Do we put in even a fraction of the same effort? Like, you wouldn't think twice about spending an hour researching a new phone or, perfecting a recipe.
True.
But what about our spiritual growth?
He's got a point.
Yeah, right.
So he's basically saying we need to apply that same energy to learning about our faith.
Precisely. And he actually makes it sound doable. He's not saying we have to, become scholars overnight or anything.
Right.
He says even dedicating like a small amount of time each day, even 15 minutes, it can make a huge difference in the long run.
That's actually really encouraging.
Yeah, I think so too.
Because it's not about like cramming everything in at once.
Right. It's about consistently making that effort.
It's like, it's better to work out a little bit every day than to try to do like one massive workout once a month.
Exactly. It's that consistency that matters.
Okay. Yeah, I love that analogy.
Thanks. And this leads us to another one of his main points. He sees becoming and staying Muslim as, a continuous process, right? Always learning, always reflecting. It's not like a destination you reach. It's the journey itself.
Oh, so you're not just like reading the Quran once and saying, all right, I'm good now. It's about coming back to the teachings again and again, deepening your understanding over time.
Yeah. Just like we update our phones with the newest software, our understanding of Islam should also be evolving.
That's a really cool way to think about it.
Thanks. It's like if your understanding is stuck on an old version, you're missing out on all the new features and improvements.
Yeah, the bug fixes, the security updates, right?
Exactly. And this whole idea of always learning, it connects back to that idea of knowledge being like a shield. If you're not actively trying to learn and grow, you're much more vulnerable.
Vulnerable to what? Like bad ideas or?
Yeah, like bad ideas, pressures from outside, even doubts from inside yourself.
So you need that solid foundation to navigate all of that.
Right, exactly. And especially now when things change so fast, the world's a busy place.
Yeah, there's so much information out there. It's hard to know what to trust.
And misinformation, too. It's everywhere.
That's true. So having that knowledge helps you sort it all out, helps you stay true to what Islam really is.
Exactly. It's about being able to think for yourself.
I think some people might hear all this and feel a little overwhelmed, They might think, okay, I get it, knowledge is important, but I'm so busy. I barely have time to sleep, let alone study Islam for hours every day.
Maududi actually addresses that.
Really?
He emphasizes that even making small efforts consistently can make a huge difference. Like, he suggests just setting aside 15 minutes each day.
15 minutes, okay.
Just to learn something new about Islam.
Yeah.
It could be reading a few verses from the Quran, listening to a lecture.
Maybe even listening to a certain podcast.
Oh, you know it.
But seriously, I like that approach a lot. It's like you don't have to run a marathon every day to be healthy.
Exactly. A brisk walk, some stretching, that can make a difference too.
Right. So it's the same idea with our spiritual well-being. You don't have to become a scholar overnight.
It's just about connecting with your faith regularly.
Even if it's just for a few minutes. And there are so many different ways to do that. It's not all about sitting down with a giant book.
Oh, absolutely not. You could listen to a lecture during your commute,
Yeah.
Or talk about a verse from the Quran with a friend.
Yeah, keep it casual.
Make it your own. The important thing is to make it a part of your life.
Weave it in, right?
Yeah, weave it in. And approach it with curiosity, Be excited to learn.
Leap into it.
Yeah. That's how you build that personal connection with your faith.
And discover what really speaks to you.
Exactly.
That idea of a personal connection, it's so important. And it reminds me of something else Maududi talks about, this idea that Islam is a conscious choice.
Oh, yeah. He's really firm on that one.
It's not something you just inherit.
He says we shouldn't just accept Islam passively.
Yeah.
Just because it's what our families do.
Right.
We should actively choose it based on our own understanding and conviction.
So it's not about blind faith. You need to actually understand what you're committing to.
Right. He even compares accepting Islam to, like, choosing a subscription service.
Yeah. Interesting.
You wouldn't sign up for something without knowing what you're getting, would you?
No, you got to read the reviews first.
Exactly. You compare the features, you make an informed decision.
It's like you wouldn't commit to a streaming service without checking out the shows first.
Exactly. You want to know what you're getting into.
Right. So why wouldn't you do the same with something as important as your faith?
It's all about owning your beliefs, making that conscious decision to live by them.
I like that. And it leads to another important point he makes. Being a Muslim is about more than just the label.
Oh, absolutely.
It's about living it.
Yeah, he says true understanding should lead to action.
So it's not enough to just say, I'm Muslim. You actually have to embody the teachings in your daily life.
Exactly. He says it's about aligning your choices, your behaviors, everything you do with the values of your faith.
So it's about how you treat others, how you do business, how you interact with the world around you.
It's about the whole package, yeah.
Wow, so it's not just about praying 5 times a day or fasting during Ramadan.
It's about so much more than that.
He has a really beautiful way of describing this, too. He compares our good deeds to fragrant flowers.
Oh, I love that metaphor.
They spread their scent far and wide, right?
Exactly. He's saying that even small acts of kindness, compassion, justice.
They have a ripple effect?
Yeah. They can impact not just ourselves, but everyone around us.
They can change the world.
He emphasizes that it's not about making these big, grand gestures.
It's about consistently trying to live a life that reflects your value.
Exactly. Walking the walk, not just talking the talk.
And this idea of action and impact, it makes me think of another concept he talks about, the Ummah.
Ah, yes. The global community of Muslims.
It's like this idea that you're part of something much bigger than yourself.
He believes that this sense of belonging is crucial.
Crucial for what?
Well, for our own spiritual growth, for one thing, and also for building a more just world.
So it's not just about individual faith. It's about recognizing that you're part of this network, this support system with shared values.
Exactly. He talks about how important it is to support each other, work together for the common good.
Like we're all in this together.
Yeah. And be there for each other, especially those who are struggling.
Yeah.
We have a collective responsibility,
to make the world a better place.
Exactly.
It sounds like Maududi is calling for a very active, engaged approach to faith, that's individually and as a community.
He's not about being a passive observer. He wants us to be participants, to create a more just and compassionate world.
That's really powerful.
It is. He believes that true Islam is about finding that balance,
What kind of balance?
Well, between our spiritual pursuits and our worldly pursuits.
Right, so like our connection to God and our responsibilities in this world.
Exactly. And balancing our own needs with the needs of others.
And balancing contemplation with action.
Yeah, it's all connected.
That makes sense. Because if you only focus on your own spiritual development, but you neglect your responsibilities out in the world.
Right, it creates an imbalance.
Exactly. And on the flip side, if you chase after worldly success without paying attention to your spiritual well-being,
you might achieve a lot, but still feel empty inside.
So it's about finding that sweet spot.
That middle ground where you're nurturing your soul and engaging with the world around you.
Contributing to something bigger than yourself.
Yes. He uses this brilliant analogy to describe it. He compares a righteous life to a bird that needs two wings to fly.
Oh, I like that. Tell me more about this bird analogy.
Okay, so one wing represents our spiritual development, right? Our connection with God, our inner growth.
Okay, I'm following.
And the other wing represents our engagement with the world, our actions, our contributions to society.
So just like a bird needs both wings to soar, we need both our spiritual and worldly sides to live a truly balanced and fulfilling life.
That's it. You got it.
Yeah.
And finding that balance is an ongoing process.
It's not like you achieve it once and you're done.
Right. It's a constant effort to adjust, to adapt.
It's like learning to ride a bike, You might wobble a bit at first, but with practice, you find your balance and you start to really enjoy the ride.
I love that. It's not about being perfect. It's about striving to live in a way that reflects our values.
And that brings us closer to God.
Exactly. And this brings us to another point Maududi emphasizes. He talks about how Islam is a universal message.
Okay.
He doesn't see it as something exclusive to a specific culture or ethnicity.
So it's not tied to one particular region or group of people.
Exactly. He stresses that Islam transcends geographical boundaries, cultural norms, all of that. It's a message for everyone, regardless of their background.
That's really powerful. It challenges this idea that Islam belongs to one specific place or one group of people.
Right. He even points out that someone who converts to Islam can become just as devout and knowledgeable as someone who was born into a Muslim family.
So it's not about where you come from. It's about the sincerity of your heart.
Precisely. Our connection with God isn't determined by our birthplace or our family history.
And this idea of Islam as a universal message connects back to that idea of the Ummah, right?
Absolutely. The global community of Muslims.
This tapestry of different people, all united by faith and shared values.
It transcends borders, ethnicities, languages. It's a reminder that we're all part of something bigger than ourselves.
United by our belief in God.
And our commitment to living a righteous life.
It's like a global family.
That's a beautiful way to put it.
Connected by this shared faith, this sense of purpose.
And Maududi, he emphasizes that this sense of community is essential, both for our individual growth and for building a more just world.
So it's not just about what we do on our own, it's about how we support and uplift each other.
Working together to make a positive impact.
Recognizing our shared humanity.
Our responsibility to one another.
He's reminding us that we're not alone on this journey.
We have each other.
And we have the guidance of our faith.
And, it's amazing to think about all the positive change the Ummah could create in the world. But circling back to this idea of actively choosing Islam, Maududi, he makes this really interesting comparison to, like, signing up for a subscription.
Oh, yeah, we were talking about that earlier.
Such a clever analogy, don't you think?
It is. It's very modern.
Yeah. It makes you think, Like, if you sign up for something, you don't just forget about it.
Right. You expect something in return.
Exactly. And you have to actually use it if you want to get the most out of it.
So is he saying that just calling yourself Muslim is kind of like paying for a subscription but never actually using the service?
That's exactly it. You might technically be a member, But are you really getting the full experience?
You're not getting your money's worth.
Exactly. And it's the same with Islam. If we just say, I'm Muslim, without really engaging with the teachings, exploring the wisdom, living by those values, we're missing out on so much. The richness, the depth.
So the label isn't enough.
It's about actively participating, learning, growing, striving to truly live by what you believe.
It's a way of life.
And that active engagement, it involves both inner work, like the reflection and study, and also outward actions. How we interact with others, how we contribute to our community.
How we make a difference in the world.
It's about letting your faith inspire you to act, to serve.
How to make things better.
Exactly. It's about taking all that good stuff you're cultivating on the inside and letting it shine outwards.
And this ties back into what we were talking about before, right? Maududi's emphasis on balance.
Absolutely. Finding that harmony between your spiritual side and your worldly life.
He's saying that our faith shouldn't be separate from our everyday lives.
It's meant to guide us, inspire us, give us the strength to make a positive impact.
So as we're wrapping up this deep dive into what it truly means to be Muslim, what's one key takeaway you want our listeners to walk away with?
I think Maududi's really issuing a challenge to all of us. He's saying, let's move beyond just passively accepting things and really embrace a more conscious, engaged, and ultimately fulfilling way of living our faith.
He's calling us to action.
Yeah, it's about seeking knowledge, making conscious choices, and really striving to live in a way that reflects our beliefs.
It's a reminder that Islam isn't just a label, it's a journey.
A journey of learning and growth.
Connecting with God.
Connecting with each other.
Connecting with the world around us.
And it's a journey we don't have to take alone, We have the support of the Ummah.
This incredible community of diverse people united by this beautiful faith.
Exactly.
So as you go about your day today, I encourage you to think about what we talked about. Ask yourself, what are some steps I can take to really understand Islam better?
Right. How can you make it a more important part of your life?
Maybe it's reading the Quran every day or checking out more of Maududi's work.
Or maybe it's just talking about it more with friends and family,
Seeking out ways to help others.
There are so many ways to connect with your faith.
And the rewards are immeasurable.
It's all about taking that first step.
And then another and another.
It's a lifelong journey.
A journey of faith and discovery. Thank you all for joining us on this deep dive.
We hope it's been insightful for you.
Until next time, keep learning, keep growing.
And keep striving to live a life that reflects the beauty and the wisdom of Islam.